they thought they.
That's Mrs. Gibbons' house. It's still there. That's the house there with the apartment on top.
Oh,
We're not.
Yes, that's where we started. That's on Briar there.
oh.
Apparently on Whit Sunday, May 29th, 1887, according to Richard Seidel's notes. So a month later,
And that's the storefront that they moved to, yes.
on Clark Street.
Oh, that's Clark?
Mhm.
That's Clark Street.
And Jacob tells me that this building is still there, but it has been renumbered.
It was also Briar in those days was called Fletcher. And further
Fletcher.
west it still is called Fletcher.
Now, there's some debate about whether this is the first chapel they built on Clark Street or whether this is. And these are-
That's it, not the other one.
Okay, so we have no idea what this building is.
I think that's one of the chapels out where they used to have the camp in the suburbs.
Okay. So this is a chapel that was,
Rolled over here
yes,
and was put on this side where we're sitting now, not that side.
okay.
And then they built a brick building around it and then pulled that down from the inside.
This is the first rector, Samuel Cook Edsel, who served from 1887 to 1899 and went on to become a bishop, one of many of the.
Bishop of North Dakota.
So time's running out for you guys over there if you want to get in the running.
Oh, I'm already.
Are you
over
past?
there.
Maybe you could be the
And you know
first.
what? It was only Jay who thought I should be a bishop. I really didn't want to be a bishop because you know what they do? They do all the things I don't like to do.
And none of the things
They
you do.
spend all their time in committee meetings, and the only thing that they do that I'd like to is the visits to the churches. So.
They do that handsome purple though.
Well, they wear a nice hat too, but you know what? For all of that, I'd rather have sort of do the job.
And you get to walk a little stick, so.
Yes, yes.
So was the lay reader when the place first opened.
Some of you, particularly if you've been up on the altar lately, you'll remember that this was dedicated to him
I've
after
often
he
thought it would be
died.
nice if we could start reusing that as a credence table.
Well, you'll have to talk to.
Yes. They were listening.
So there's the.
And that's the building they put around the wooden chapel, yes.
Yes.
And this, part of this building is still that building. What they did is when they built the church, they turned that into what is now this building. And that's why it's such a terrible building. It's made up of all sorts of different things. But they added another floor, yeah, they added another floor to it. They turned the
This was an advertisement that I think must have been put out about the time that the church opened, because it advertises some of the history, and then that's obviously the church now, only minus the.
That's the church as it was before they added the front on to the parish house where your office is now.
Does any? Go ahead.
Yeah, that was called the Settlement House. It was our first parish house across the street on Broadway.
Is that
It owned all the
Yes.
We're across the street.
The gym.
Where's the
This
gym
is
now?
now the gym.
It's not what's
Lakeview Athletic.
It was Jane Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Home house.
But they sold that to the city in 1910.
Well, when they got their new parish house, they got rid of it.
That's,
And then it became, actually for many years, it was an American Legion post.
If you go look at the Lakeview Athletic Club, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at the Lakeview Athletic Club, you can see that. I mean, that's what the front entrance looks like, and the windows are still shaped the same. So, I mean, obviously there's a climbing wall there now, but.
Was it called the Butler House at one time, when Mrs. Butler?
Yeah, Herman Beardsley Butler.
Yes.
Um,
This was a close-up of what was in the old window over the altar.
okay.
It was Victorian painted glass. The thing was that with the cold sut in the city, by the 1920s it had turned black.
I think this is the one in the chapel. I think there's a bigger angel that was over the altar.
No, that's the underneath. If you
Oh,
see
okay,
it, the angel was above it,
okay.
and the window was divided into three panels. It was actually it was a shame in many ways that they got rid of the tracery of that window, because it was brick tracery, because it was very pretty, but the glass had gone black.
Okay, now who is she? I see that plaque.
This part of the old chapel was dedicated in her memory by her family, so when they moved the chapel to where it is now, when they built this parish house, they moved.
Actually, the chapel has always been there.
Okay.
But what happened in 1946 is they put all the woodwork in and made it look pretty. Before it was just a very plain looking room. But that chapel was there because this had originally been the church.
Okay.
And that's why they built it there.
What was her significance to the parish? Was she one of the founding members?
That I don't know. Do you know it, Jay? She could have been.
Now that's not the organ that's still in the chapel, right?
No.
Levi, did you see the plaque on the back of the pew in the church that's dedicated as a free seating for anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a picture of that?
I haven't gotten a picture of it, but I have seen it.
That actually is not St. Peter's at all.
This isn't?
No. I think that is when they electrified the organ, which originally even a pneumatic manual, they electrified the organ, and I think this is a picture of the organ console that they then put into our church. And I don't think it was a new one, but it was the two manual, and that's what we had before we put the present organ
It was
console
a
in.
display organ.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yes, that's the old choir room.
Downstairs?
Downstairs. And there's the chapel. There's the chapel before it was finished by that family with the plaque.
Wow. Looks so different.
And see, the windows are in different places. Or did they move the windows, or did they just raise the floor? I guess probably raise the floor, didn't they?
No, they moved the windows.
Did
Yes.
I like the chapel as it is now, better than.
So this is the old parish hall. So I think the guild room is quite an improvement. This was Father Griffith, the third Griffin, excuse me, the
He
third
was only
rector.
here, I think, he's the one who put the marble altar in. And he was only here like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
He was too high church for him.
So there's the angel.
And there's,
Okay.
You know, let's see if we
you
can
see
zoom
the
in on her.
tracery is very nice.
Was that wooden tracery?
I think it was, yes. Yes.
Look at those hats.
Now, this is Bible class 1938, so there should be some faces in there that Jay would have known when they looked a little older, or that Georgia knew when they looked just like that.
This is in the corner, doesn't it, there? Yeah. 1935 to 1938. Yeah.
Well, that's the blank place.
That's even before Jay's time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hear.
There's somebody around here whose parents were in that group, you know.
I'll tell you who is in that group is Mrs. Field as Viola.
Viola?
Viola Field is in there. I don't know
Wow.
which one is her, but she's there. I know she's there. Viola Field is the one who came to church one Sunday morning at sort of like 10 o'clock. And there was a man sitting in the pew, and he's the only person there. She walked up to him and looked at him, and she said, "You're in my place." Because in those days, they were still playing pew rent. That's how they raised money, was pew rent.
I think this was in the late 20s, early 1930s. What I love about this is this gentleman's spats.
That's
And then you got this guy who's obviously a suck-up because he's got the spats too.
Because this was back in the days when ladies wore hats and gloves and men wore suits.
And you can see that's up in the parish room, which is of course now the where they use the box office,
Where they used the what?
The theater box.
the theater box office.
The parish is where we used to hold Western meetings.
That's right.
Now I think this guy right here is Bishop Montgomery's father. It said James Montgomery, and at first I thought that was the bishop, but this is way too old for that to be him, so that must be his dad. If you look at him,
Who would you think this picture was?
Oh, yeah.
This is in the 1930s. So, and then I think this is Henry Hungerford, who became the choir master. And that's Kilner Fox Thomas.
Oh, is that? Oh, my.
So let me just back out a little bit, and we've actually got names for these. So top row, James E. Montgomery. Then we got Edward Holson, Kilner Fox Thomas, and Henry Hungerford. Then the middle row, Jane Jacket, not to be confused with Jean Jacket. Mary Albert, Mrs. Richard Schmid, Mrs. John Wren,
That name.
Mrs. Frank Collins, and Mrs. L.B. McKinney. And in the front row, Lee H. Madden, Father R. Everett Carr, Dr. Frank M. Johnson, Curtis B. Camp, and A.A. Reeve.
Well, Lee Madden, one on the far left in the front row.
Yes.
See, I knew him, but he looked a lot different. He was treasurer here for many, many years before Bob Church.
The one that Bishop Montgomery's father identified, I would just show that one to Bishop and ask him if he remembers, because he grew up.
He was a choir boy.
So here is, this is obviously jumping back about 40 years.
I didn't remember.
That's
I remember Bishop Montgomery's son.
Okay.
And
What-
my brother told me that none of the other kids knew what they wanted to be, but that he knew at that time that he wanted to be a priest.
Bishop Montgomery did.
Yes, in Sunday school class.
If you look at this, you can notice, I assume these were gas. Jay, I mean, you think they were gas?
Father D says they were.
Yeah.
We had electricity by then, so, but maybe they were.
You can see the angel window up there. And I mean, this looks pretty blurry, but if you zoom in, I mean, you can see it's a pretty good quality photo. And then I believe if you look at other pictures, I think that's Samuel Cook Edsel there. And of course, he's wearing a skull, so chances are. And look, that's when the altar before it was marble. This is a baptism. This is the picture that Peg Whitry calls the Rasputin picture. Because this guy looks like Rasputin. These people look like they need baptized.
It does, doesn't it?
This is the old font
The Czar's family.
when it was wooden. And there's Samuel Cook Edsel baptizing God knows who. And you got Elvira Gulch there. And then I think this is
It does look like it.
I think this is Kilner Fox Thomas here.
Oh, my favorite person.
So look how much deeper I think the church looked when you had more pews and just that, I don't know, something about it. It just looked a lot more imposing.
Did until most recently.
Yeah.
Well, they took out a couple of pews in the front, and then, of course, they took out all in the back.
I would like to call your attention to the fact that the columns there are painted a plum color. If anybody changes that, deal with me.
They don't what?
A plum, P-L-U-M color, and that was the original. And they got painted over, and we wanted to bring it back to its original splendor, and the color analyst said you couldn't chip through that many coats of paint. The best he could do was to research and bring out the original color. So parishioners did that painting. Joanna Geske was one of them. Somebody whose name was Hillman, Barbara Hill, and the columns were gold with a blue touch. And I know recently somebody wanted to paint them. They get chipped a little at the bottom. So I just wanted to warn you.
I love this aisle runner too. And then of course here's the choir. We can zoom in on them. That's still our processional cross. That's the one Father Dockerly was talking about putting the corpus on.
So what year was this?
This would have been in the 1890s.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's still right there is Samuel Cook Edsel, and he was only here until '99.
So they built that church that quickly after they started?
Hmm?
Yeah, I think about 5 years. wasn't it?
Really? Wow.
They didn't have a hard time having a capital campaign back
They
then.
had lots of money.
Didn't they say there were about 2,000 parishioners?
Yeah, this was at one. We always hear this was at one time the largest Episcopal church west of the Alleghenies.
But I thought that was like 1910-ish, when it was that large.
Well, I think that's right. It, for whatever reason, I think it grew very early in its history.
Another thing that maybe it's not in this picture, maybe it's in the previous one.
Now, go back to that pulpit,
It's been raised.
but that is the original, the pulpit we have now,
yeah.
is that it right there?
That's whatever you call this. It's now got the platform to stand on.
Yeah.
And of course, these are gone. If you look at this, I think this was part of maybe the organ. If you look at those trumpets, I can't imagine what they would have been otherwise. And there's the organ console back there. This was a pretty grand place. It still is, but for that day, it's just wow.
I can't remember what's on there now.
No, and nothing. It's just the blue fabric.
Oh, that's because of the sound.
Right.
Sound.
Yeah. So this is choir camp. I doubt any of you remember these gentlemen, right? This is back when photographs could still break instead of tear. I just love their hats. The Mary 15 in Green Mills, Wisconsin. This says 1890s on the back of it. So
Wow.
and here they are with an overdeveloped sense of occasion. They've got their processional cross in the woods.
And it's probably 90 degrees, isn't it?
And I think that's Kilner Fox Thomas, and I'm not sure who that is.
Now, was this camp for just our choir boys?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the camp was shared, but the event was just for our boys.
Well, actually, the church owned the camp, and maybe they...
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, they owned it?
Yeah, at least in the...
But here you got
in the 20s.
more of them sitting out there on the step. There's Kilner Fox Thomas.
He was a dude.
He's got his little, I think of him here as like the Pied Piper with his little... There's another one. Now, I think that's Samuel Cook Edsel. And that's Kilner Fox Thomas. I'm putting this together mostly just by looking at them. So now this, what number picture does that say? 32? This is also in the late 1800s or very early 1900s. There's another one. I'll go more slowly if you need me to, but I'm doubting anybody knows any of these people.
Old Blankley sang in the choir all his life, so I think his family, John might be able to help you with.
There's some angelic little,
Yeah,
Boys
he
on-
one of them.
looks like Christmas or Easter. What number is this? 39? It says the 1920s.
Boy, wouldn't you love to have a recording of that, of those
You would be proud of it.
choirs?
There's Hungerford. That's when he became 42. This is the 1930s now. There they are on the front steps. There's the guy with the spats. Now this is Sunday school in the 1938, it says there on the bottom. And Peg Witry was saying that she thought she remembered Edna Southworth saying that she thought she might be in this picture.
Well, I think if we go through that one by one, we can find her, don't you?
Well, I think she was maybe... Well, she was older. She would have been about 12.
She would have been 12.
Maybe some of those girls in the background.
Oh, in the back. Any of them look familiar? This little processional cross is still on the premises. I'm trying to get the Sunday school kids to use that. This is the prototypical growth group known then as the Young People's Society. So there's Father Carr, and there's Henry Hungerford there.
And what was the year on that?
This is 1930, sometime in the 1930s. There's a high altar in Easter of the 1920s. I love those plants. You can see, we still, well, I don't know if you can see, but we still use this. Mass is sung from that every Sunday. There's Kilner Fox Thomas in later age. These are just internal pictures of, must have been when the McManus organ was being put in.
No.
No, it's the previous one? Because that came in the 80s, didn't
The
it?
console.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so this is 2 organs ago. Now you might have heard Father Dunkley talking about this dorsal curtain was put there when the angel got all blacked up because of coal dust or coal soot. So he really liked this dorsal curtain. It does not turn my crank. So particularly in comparison to the transfiguration window we've got now. What number is this? 59.
That must be Easter.
Yeah, this is Easter, sometime in the 1940s.
Up in the front.
And it looks like, with all these, I said it looks like
Looks
the,
like a garden.
I was going to say it looks like the Taft White House or something. I mean, it was just very in vogue in the 1920s. And the pulpit would have been elevated by that time, you can see that.
Yeah.
That might have come at the same
That-
time.
That's the same one, isn't it?
Hmm.
I think so.
And you can see over here the trumpets are gone. Now then this is when they had the asbestos floor, which also does not turn my crank. I think that was in the early 1950s. Yeah, because you can see the transfiguration window was put in like 1949 and 1950.
What was the transfiguration?
This window.
Oh, yeah.
Before it had been that angel and then it had been that curtain. Jade, you don't remember a previous window, do you?
No,
Oh.
this window, I didn't come here really till 59 or 60.
All right, so this is choir.
It's about a stem window.
Yeah. And then there's Henry Hungerford left and went to World War II and then came back and resumed as organist and choir master. So I believe this gentleman here was the organist and choir master while he was gone. Then I think, is this Holton Blankley?
No, it could be.
They
This one right here. Let me zoom in.
kind of looks like it.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Okay.
He sang all his life.
And you can obviously see
48.
Lent 1948. Henry Hungerford's packing on the pants. This is a camp in the 1940s. And then this, there's Father Scambler. And this is Pastor Martin Niemöller, who, if you don't know, he's the one that's famous for, first they came for the communists, and not because I was not a communist, I didn't speak up.
Wow.
So he was in the concentration camp in Germany during the war, and apparently came sometime in the 1950s. And I mean, Jay, do you remember, or 40s, I guess? So they're loading food onto a truck for some, relief organization, but they're out there looking like studs with all their good clothes. I told Steve we need to get him a hat like that.
And that's okay.
Now this guy is Robert Wheeler, and there was no attendant information, so I don't know what, he might have just been parishioner. And then that's Henry Hungerford, who was choir master 32 to 42 and then 45 to 52. And here are some choir boys. And I think this must have been when he stepped down as choir master. It looks like he's getting a parting gift. You see that smile that he's passing on the choir to somebody else. And then I think this is Holton Blankley, correct? And then is this is that any relation to him or no?
No, but you could find out who his contemporaries were there. Some of them went over to St. Richard's. Robinson and Larson and
Oh, Ernie Robinson, yeah.
and then Dr. Larson.
Now this is the second Sunday of Easter in 1952. You can see this is up in the gym.
The ladies singing.
So I don't know what the deal is with that, because I always
The
thought,
ladies in there, I thought they couldn't have.
yeah, I don't know whether they had ladies for a while and then went back to no ladies.
Wow.
No, during the war, they had ladies.
Had
Oh, it
to-
takes
had
place.
to.
But then if the war was over, they kicked the
They
ladies
kicked
out.
the ladies out. And you can see Mr. Blankley there with the cross. The processional cross seems to have been his thing.
Holt always carried that for years and years, even when he was in the choir, because he was a big person.
So when I came, Charlie Field was what
Yeah.
was crucified.
Yeah.
He carried it. God help anybody else who wanted to.
That's
Right.
right.
This is a curate, Father Surrey.
What was his name?
Surrey.
Surrey.
And there'll be another picture of him. It looks like helping out with the Christmas bazaar.
Who's that, the tree in the middle of you?
I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't written down.
And what year do you think that was?
Well, that's like another priest to the
It's,
left, too.
In the 1950s.
And there's still women there.
Yeah, this is like 55 or something.
Is that Korean?
Well,
1955.
Then this is
on the right is Lou Geisheimer.
this one.
Yeah, he was in his life, a very strong member. He was a bus driver for the CPA.
It looks like they're selling shaving products or something.
Yeah, he was always, he and his wife always were active at the bazaar and things like that. And I think they were on the-
Who's the man with him?
I'm trying to see it. It's a face like something.
Is that Robinson? Looks
Well,
like
it might be
older.
Ernie Robinson. I never knew him here. He had left before I came.
What was his first name?
Ernie, Ernest.
He became a canon, so they just have some pictures of him down from the cathedral. Not here, he didn't become.
Now, who is in the gorilla suit? I do not know, but I think that's priceless. And, you know, this is Father Scambler. I don't know where they're going, but they're rowing somewhere with an ash shovel, acting something out. Jay, was this some kind of a scene that was painted on a wall?
I don't know. It might be the actual palm somewhere. I don't recognize either of the two girls.
There's that Father Surrey again in front of a big couple of roasters of chicken. And you can look, Steve, you pay attention. He's got flour on his, so that means he's been working in the
He's
kitchen.
been working in the kitchen.
And you can tell these old ladies all love him
Yeah.
because he's helping out. So I think this must have been a bazaar. Does anybody know this woman? Now, during the church renovation in the early 1950s, they met upstairs in the gym. So here's when that was the case.
Wow.
It looks like church, right?
Yeah.
We had it in the guild room here, I think that must have been when they put in the pipe organ.
Mhm.
And, Fred Nestrup was our interim rector at the time.
That's the dead.
Yeah, and what is remarkable to this, about this to me, is this was just 7 years after the war. So, I mean, this has always been, I think, a cutting edge place for hospitality.
I do think you need to ask Kate Boyd.
I think Kay's in here. I can't remember which one, but somebody has identified her as one of these folks.
That might be her in the center there.
Right there.
Do you think it is?
I've been looking at that one.
Kate Boyd's a little older than she would have been.
What year was this? he died?
52.
That's the only one who has her smile.
Yes, it is. I would ask her about this one. She probably knows them all.
So here's an Easter in the 1950s or 1960s. And it's basically the same picture, but that we've still got this furniture, but it's not in the same place.
When I first came here, it wasn't around, it was stored someplace. And the house chairman found it and brought it up and put it to the rear.
What's this? The font or
There's
this?
the font.
The font was in storage?
Is that true, Jed? I think
I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
I know at some point they moved it to the
Don
rear.
Rasmussen was the house chairman.
I think I was just totally oblivious.
Now this is Aurelia Dumas.
She was our first female senior ward, wasn't she?
She's also the one who died at the altar rail.
No, she didn't die there, but that's
Well,
when she,
that's what he said. I wasn't.
What did she just
well,
took
just
ill?
keeled over and they took her to the hospital and she died that afternoon.
People who pay attention to the bulletin carefully will know that Bob Marks still honors her with flowers.
Well, he took her to the hospital too. I think he was the physician.
This says Mrs. Samuel Hallstrom and Mrs. Harry Palos.
Name? Alice.
Let's see if I can zoom in.
Now,
There.
Palos came up earlier, didn't it, a man named Palos?
Might have been.
Alice, yeah.
They're looking at a doll at the Christmas bazaar. Now who we got here?
Lillian Wetton on the left.
That's Lillian.
Spell Wetton.
Pardon?
W-E-T-T-O-N.
W-E-T-T-O-N. You know this lady?
Well, you know, her face looks familiar, but I don't know her.
How
Now,
about,
Lillian Wetton's daughter, I know.
do you guys know these folks? Oh, it said, wait a minute.
Oh, this is the high table.
This said, Mary Arding was what?
Mary who?
Arting?
Martin?
A-R-T-I-N-G.
No, I don't know her.
Okay. So this says Linton Supper, 1955. Left to right, Charles Courtwright, Mabel Tratine,
Oh,
maybe?
that's Mabel?
Oh, it is, it is.
Zoom in, I have never seen her.
Was that Bob Chutine's?
Bob Chutine's wife.
There she is.
Oh my gosh.
The Right Reverend James Montgomery. We don't know who this person is. It's Reverend somebody. The Reverend somebody. Oh, it's Reverend somebody.
That's Robert Tucci.
And there's Bob right there.
Okay.
When I-
He's really,
McDonald is what is with
I
him.
thought my
Priest.
father McDonald. He was sort of acting, remember, he was sort of when they had Holy Communion the first Sunday of each month, he would come here and assist. He'd had it for many years. He had a church out in Oak Park or somewhere in that area.
Do you remember what his first name was?
I should.
Besides Father?
No, his
They
father.
were,
Don't.
we could find that easily enough.
And then this says Royal Stem.
Royal Stem. Is that Royal? It didn't look like Royal Stem.
No.
He was.
There he is, larger than life.
He was a salesman, lived up on Irving Park, and he was, I think, senior warden for many, many years, and probably junior warden. But he was a real good greeter and things like that, and a very outgoing personality.
Come back to Mr. Tutine there.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't even look like him.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he
Yeah, it
does.
does.
Oh,
When he
yeah.
was younger. When I saw him.
I recognize the nose right away.
Yeah.
So this is a bazaar in the 1960s. I don't know who these little guys are, but I imagine that's somebody's husband and son trying to help with the bazaar. What number is this? 97. That's the 1960s. I don't know whether she's angry or she can't believe those prices.
It wasn't Mrs. Wetton, was it?
This is the 1960s. And that says Harriet Canfield.
You know her? Georgia Canfield?
This is a picture of the chapel in the 1960s. You notice the Jesus that's back there now is no longer, or is not there yet. Judging by this car, what year do we think this is? I would say
In the 30s, early 30s.
But again, besides the the handicapped accessible ramp, it looks the same. There's another picture of the chapel. There's a Dunkerley innovation. That's the flower sacristy, probably the cleanest it's looked in ages.
That's why I didn't recognize it.
There's the other sacristy, also cleanest it's been in ages. Now there's Bill Pollock, and this is
Father Dunkley.
Is that Father D?
yeah.
He was a hippie, remember?
No, yeah, that's why I'm here, because he was like one of the Beatles.
Let's,
I thought he was so big. That's a good reason to join the church.
this is the early 1970s. You see, Jesus has already made his appearance now on the procession. Where at? Right there.
No, that's.
Oh, yeah.
That's Christmas 1972, it says. Pretty elaborate. You can see, I guess this was out.
For several years, they made Christmas cards, sold Christmas cards with this picture on.
And that's, you can see that's what this is. It's a card, so.
Well, see, they brought that new altar in, and it really wasn't long enough, so they put a board over it. Isn't it still that way?
It's still that way.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a piece of price board.
Didn't we have an orchestra on Christmas?
That's Dan.
And New
That's
Year's?
my son,
There.
yeah, that's Steve.
So it says front row, left to right, William Kinney.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny Winslow.
Yeah, Danny Winslow. You want to name him?
I don't remember all of them, Steve.
Steve Trapp,
Yeah.
Louis Molina,
Oh, well.
Edward Wentworth, Michael Superno, Sebastian Superno,
What was it? Yeah.
and then the back row is James Royer, George Pena Herrera,
Yeah, I remember.
Robert Richmond,
Yes.
Bill Pollock,
Mr. Pop.
and Father Dunkerley with a mischievous grin. Then it also said Ray Wentworth photographer, so that's why Ray's not in the picture. Now we know those guys. What I love about this is Joanna's shirt,
Royal Navy.
Falkland Islands. So she was really, really happy about that.
Never quit.
This was 1983 or 84.
That's it in Southwood.
There's Mr. J. Price. You know who these boys are, Jay?
I don't know, I recognize them, they turned their face. I don't recognize one in front of them, one in back, even.
There's Joanna and Don.
It's Rusty.
That's rested right there, old place.
Who looks a little like Erlen Parnell, don't you guys think?
Who old?
Yeah, just in this picture.
He might be you because you didn't know it.
Right. They were not the same.
No.
Who's the one that's right there?
Winslow.
Yeah.
That's, isn't that whole thing with white?
Is that big blank?
That looks like that.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And
It
it
is.
says the Winslow. They're okay. That's my son and that's Dan. They was like this.
Is that him?
What and what's his last name?
Winslow.
Okay.
So,
And which son is this?
No, Winslow.
No one's son.
Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Carol's.
Carol, who did you say was before in the right one?
That's Dan,
Winslow.
Ben
He's the
Winslow.
bookie one. Bookie.
Had the red hair, maybe he had the red hair.
It looked like Danny, I thought it
Do you guys know these?
was his eye.
That's Lori, right?
Right, is that Nancy
And that's
Kenny?
Billy
Nancy
Kenny,
Kenny, yeah.
and Billy Kenny.
Couldn't remember her
Right.
name.
So Nancy Kinney and Lori Wright.
Right.
Lori would know some things
That's
for
Rusty.
you too along the way.
Okay.
I guess I was so totally oblivious during this time. Some of these people I
Now Nancy, you were just oblivious in a decade a decade ago in pictures. When did you wake up? I'm wondering.
I don't think I'm awakened yet.
That lady's name is Barbara Hill, now named Scruggs.
Scruggs?
Barbara Hill, when she went to church here. She lives in
Okay.
Indianapolis. She came back, she comes back pretty often. She came for Beverly's retirement.
Yeah,
She came for
Came
Seidel's
tomorrow.
funeral.
Any idea who this is?
Haven't the foggiest.
So that's Joanna, and that's Mrs. Blankley, and that's the Barbara you were just talking about? Okay. And who's this?
Jay, who is that? You know?
And what?
Danny Watts, is it? I guess so.
And that's Edna and Brian Gansky.
Brian, yeah.
And then is this Mrs. Blankley again?
Yes.
And Edna Winslow, mother of one.
And it was, right.
There's Jay and Joanna, two former senior wardens. Edna's getting ready to bowl.
Now, what year is all this?
83, 84 is what it said. What I love about this picture, and I didn't notice it until I blew it up, but look at that cigar sticking out of Don's mouth. He's got one there too. Didn't he used to have one? They said he used to have one when he was making the pancakes, right? Had a little bit of ash in every pancake.
Oh, I see.
Now, who are those little people?
No, I'm kind of like Jay, or excuse me, I'm kind of like Jay on those. If we could just have them turn around, we could figure out. But that's Edna Southworth, right?
Just trying to decide who had a baby, you know, at that age.
There's it. Now this is, did you say this was, his name was Fields?
Charlie Fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Charlie.
And what became of him? Did he pass away or?
No, he lives out in California. I guess he's still alive.
But I haven't heard anything different.
I think we would know.
There's Joanna.
Seems to me somebody in the family would let us know.
Right, they've kind of dropped off too. Some of them are buried downstairs, aren't they?
This is Nancy Kinney,
Mhm.
and you said this was
Danny Watts.
Danny Watts.
Oh, or have we seen a picture of Bill Kenny?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's got good hair.
Bill
Very,
Kenny.
no, this guy, he's got a very era
But that
appropriate.
might have been Bill Kenny.
No,
No,
I don't think that.
no, he wouldn't have had the mustache.
He wouldn't have.
Like John. No, he wouldn't be.
You know, do we know who this is? Let me see if I can zoom in. Nope. How about that?
And I can't figure out who that is. It's Lori again.
All right. Now this came with names. So this is Brian,
Danny.
Rachel Wimigwans, Michael Elahi, and Monique Sharp. Back row it says Frank Lindsay, Colleen Majewski, and Ronald Kinder.
Oh,
Yeah, most of those girls were one that, you had Majewski's down there. Her brothers sang in the choir for a while, and we decided the only way to get girls in the Sunday school was to recruit the sisters. Unfortunately, you didn't have any girls. So we got, a lot of the girls we had were either sisters of choir boys, or a couple of them were actually friends of the Majewski girl that she brought. I remember I used to pick them up, and Sunday morning we had a whole
she was here not too long ago.
sedan full of girls that were
Well, we had his her brother's funeral, right?
Right, and she pretty much was the hostess of the reception following.
All right. Now this is Palm Sunday, 1991, and I mean you can see There's Don, Scott. Do we know who this lady is? And I think that's Richard Seidel back in the back.
Yes, it is.
You guys know any of
They
these?
wouldn't know.
Oh,
Oh, what's his name?
Edgar.
Edgar. He made the
Edgar
best
Rivera.
wine, yeah.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
Oh,
the best
my,
wine.
yes.
Oh, Edgar with Brad.
Yeah.
There's Wayne Smith back there,
Which one?
just in front of her. One back, right there.
What's his name?
Wayne Smith.
And here we got a familiar
Down
face.
there.
That looks like Dan Winslow.
No.
Now, Don, what is his last name? Anthony Sanders.
Just like Marion Hornbeck and Kathleen
Yeah.
Tam.
And I'm pretty sure that that's Edie McCormick.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that that's one Nancy Fifield.
Oh, it's sure
Thank you.
Nancy.
It sure is.
Yeah.
What's the name?
That's Nancy.
Nancy Five.
Where?
The one, the sourpuss looking one that's
those big
glowering
glasses
at
on, I
everybody.
didn't even recognize.
Oh, and down next to me is, what's her name?
That's
Ethel.
a
Oh, yes, we have to
manager.
get that from manager.
Mary Hornbeck right there.
Wow.
Kathleen.
Kathy and Tim.
Yeah.
And then they're passing out these palms, I guess. And what I love also, and Nathaniel just freaks out when I show him this, but there were drums. Now you guys weren't using those, right? And was that a different congregation was using the
Oh,
drums?
yeah, the Hispanics.
I think the
Oh,
Hispanic
yeah.
congregation
Hispanic.
usually.
But nevertheless, drums were in the church.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
guitars.
And that's Scott's wife, ex-wife. Just one before Cindy.
Kids screwed up.
Kids screwed up.
And then they said Brad Thurber was
Yeah.
behind there, and Edgar, Edna Winslow.
Yeah.
And then that Scott Elliott said this is Don Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
He was in the
back.
church just recently.
yeah, he came to visit, I seen him at convention.
Yes, it is, Don.
Let's go Christopher behind him.
What I love about this is that Marie Donnelly's still in that same every Sunday
That's
faithful.
just like the Orford.
It doesn't look a bit different.
Betty, that's Christopher's mom next to,
Right there.
yeah.
Oh,
He was so good.
You guys recognize any of these guys?
I can't remember the black guy's name. He used to live on Wellington. He came from California, probably.
Then you can see here, this is the procession getting so long that it's lapping its tail end.
Well, you see, Ethel Menninger insisted on processing. Now, do you remember the character on Carol Burnett that Tim Conway did with the little bitty steps? That was Ethel. So we would have this big gridlock. And God love her, you know, she would be right there, but she was so slow that there was this long space between Ethel and whoever was ahead. So it was
actually
behind
had
her.
her funeral, everybody was in place, ready to go, and Ethel's ashes weren't here yet.
Now this, still Palm Sunday 1991. This is Mark Ballard,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Wentworth, Father Dunkerley, and there's Scott. Does anybody know who's sub?
Kathleen Gallagher.
Kathy Gallagher.
We were trying to think of
Yeah.
that name.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you guys can see any of the choir guys or not.
Oh, what's his name with the glasses?
Mark Rich.
Margaret.
Mark Risch. Yeah.
We'll get a better picture of them in just a minute, I think. Now, this is somebody who might look familiar also.
Ooh.
He's in the room.
That's Glenn.
Oh,
Is that you? Oh, my goodness.
that's why I had to censor, right?
Yep. Well, Dunkerley's got it right now, but yeah, you probably relinquished it to him.
Kathleen Gallagher is the one who took care of Ely the cat.
Okay.
Georgia was
Yeah,
the one
she
who
used
started.
to come here, she was in love with Ely.
Wow.
She came.
I haven't seen any pictures of the cat.
She would
Oh,
come,
really?
she would come after work almost daily just to
Yeah.
take care of the cat.
Whenever I needed to go to the vet, she'd take it.
And
Oh,
she
what's
put-
her name? Anita.
This
Oh,
is,
it's,
She
Yeah.
put Eli on the diet, and he didn't like it, he was always begging for food.
so there's Carol, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was funny was during chapel service, when Eli would walk and sit in
Yes,
front of
right.
the altar and wash his nether regions.
Yes. Lots of mountains around
Oh,
the
yeah.
edges of the
You got all
cross.
their names?
This says first row is Dan Wittry, Nathan Barford. Second row is Justice Eustace Wentworth, Chris Wittry, Ray Wentworth, Amy Barford. Third row, Bob Buzzard, Wayne Magnus, Edie Morton, Marion Alexander DeBerry.
Right.
Back row is David somebody. Back row is somebody, then David Barford, Peg Wittry, Carol Trapp. Now it says Nathaniel Duard-Rom, BSG organist, but I think that's all we see of Nathaniel. But that's more than we see today, right?
That's what he is with here.
And then
That looks like Joanna.
Edniza Rivera, is that how you say
Anita,
it?
yeah.
Father Dunkerley and Joanna.
Who's the fellow with the
Oh,
glasses?
my
We should know
goodness.
that.
Magnus?
Pardon?
Skylar, isn't that Skylar
No. In the back?
in the back?
No.
No?
Do we recognize any of these guys?
I recognize my lady.
Which one is yours?
It's the back row, the second one from the left.
Because Skylar was singing in the choir at this time.
But that's not.
The Scott.
Skylar Woods.
Skylar.
Ruby's son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in there. Oh, Lord, look at that.
Now this is a choir practice in Easter 1962. They look angelic, don't they?
Oh,
They're their favorite colors, gosh.
oh my God.
They were so cute.
Besides Bobby and Ray Wentworth, do you guys know who these other guys are?
Well, Mark Hirsch is back there.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that looks like a nine back
Yeah.
there, right there. Who would that be?
There's two nuns.
Well, there's two, yeah.
Although in this neighborhood, they could have just been,
Well, we had,
This was
here,
just St. Anne probably
Okay.
visiting. That didn't happen a lot.
and here's another choir. Let's see if I can.
have you identified them?
It says pictured Adriana Sanchez.
Who's Adriana?
I think right there.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
my.
That's
She looks
it.
lovely. Uh-huh.
There's Ray Wentworth, Chris, that's Nathan Barford, right? And then that is Dan. Peggy Cleveland, Peg Wittry, Marion.
Who's the blonde with the long?
There was a young girl that sang in the choir, changed to sing in the choir. I can't remember what her name was.
And then,
Who's next to Mary? You didn't know me?
no.
Oh.
Because on this one, I just said, so like this is Edie Morton, right?
Right.
And Debbie and David and you.
Mhm.
And then I didn't know
That's
this.
Bob Buzzard.
Oh, that's Bob.
Mhm.
Do we know this gentleman?
We know him, we just don't know his name.
Isn't that funny? Now, Ray
That's
Wentworth
what they
was
were,
that.
Cathedral.
Cathedral.
Yeah.
Do you know any of them besides?
Oh, he was Christopher's dad. Little guy with the glasses. That's
Yeah,
Christopher's
with the
dad.
glasses.
Wayne Magnus.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wayne Magnus.
Yes. That's his big.
So that's him?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Our choir went down to participate in something.
Oh, is that Bill Pollock taking pictures? There's the picture down at the
And this is a
corner.
blue, light blue sweater.
Anybody's guess?
He looks familiar.
Yeah, it does.
I know we've seen him.
What time
There's
is it? Meeting.
Carol Wood.
Oh, my.
It is 4:20.
Okay.
And that's Bishop Montgomery, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea where this is?
No, I don't. We kind of moved around, had one for deanery, for confirmations and stuff.
But you were confirmed.
Here, but that isn't us, is it?
No.
This, we can't tell it here, but this, when you look up close, looks a lot like, well, it looks a little bit like Father Dunkley, but he's not wearing clerical, so I can't imagine it would be. Is this your son?
Yeah. He's giving some kind of award.
All right, now we've identified
That's Richard?
in the middle.
No.
Richard Fidel.
Isn't it? Yeah. What's that guy's name?
We're down to about the last 10 here. The notes I said say Ed, Paul, and Bill.
Ed,
So I know what you said.
Paul.
And I don't know where this picture's taken. At first I thought it was in the office, but it doesn't look like the office. There's them again. They like to have their picture taken together. And then this is just the rectors in order. So here's the first rector, which we've seen before, who was 1887 to 1899, Samuel Cook Edsel, became Bishop of North Dakota and Minnesota. This is Frank Dumoulin, that's I guess how you pronounce it, from 1899 to 1906, who became Bishop Coadjutor of Ohio.
He's the one who started the service every day.
Mm-hmm. This is Father William C. Griffith, the third rector from 1907 to 1910, who may or may not have been thrown out after he brought in the marble altar. We can't find a picture of our fourth rector, William Shaw, unless he's in one of these like choir pictures, and we just don't know that that's him. But he served from 1910 to 1916. Then this is Frederick Grandy Budlong, the fifth rector, from 1916 to 1920. He became a bishop of Connecticut.
Bishop of what?
Connecticut.
Oh, yes, that's right.
This is the sixth rector, Harold Linwood Bowen. He was rector from 1920 to 1930 and became Bishop of Colorado. And we found this picture, not in our archives, but we actually found through the internet. We made contact with his granddaughter or great-granddaughter, and she got us this picture. Now this is Father Carr, who was the seventh rector from 1930 to 1944. Then this is Father Scambler, Dr. Scambler.
He preferred to be called doctor.
Well, he earned it, probably. The eighth rector,
Higher than,
1945 to 1970.
Taken early in his career, he's a lot younger than what he knew, I remember.
Yeah. Well, you know what's amazing, and I was talking to Georgia about this on the way here, from 1898 to 1944, so for 46 years, St. Peter's had 7 rectors. For the next 62 years, they had 2.
And of those 7, how many became bishops?
Well, at least 4. That's why Father Dunkerley and Scambler never became bishops. They stayed here too long. So there's another picture of Scambler. Now, this is a joke, but I thought Father Scambler looked a little like Glenn Miller.
Yeah.
And there he is. I don't know what he's doing.
I think he's at the organ, isn't he?
Maybe left.
He's obviously,
Maybe he's doing a radio broadcast or
Could
something.
be.
Looks like
I don't know who any of these guys are.
that's
except
the
me.
rector of St. Edmunds.
Which one?
Black
Here?
guy. Yeah. He's very involved in this. city in politics. He's always told me I need to come back over there. I'm not sure if I know.
The one on the left looks familiar. Somebody around here should know who that is.
He looks a little like Lloyd Bridges, but I doubt that's him.
And then that Father.
Which one?
Father Stammer's the next one, right?
Mhm. And then this is in 1970, so this would have been at the very end of Father Scambler's tenure. And Steve, if you ever get bored with the layout of your office, this is another way that it can be.
I was just looking at that, yeah.
Then there's Sarah.
We don't have one on Duncan yet.
Oh, we should have had one of Dr. Lee.
Yeah, where's Father Dean?
But they don't have one of the man who was after Scambler. There was somebody here, he said his name was Johnson or something, was here when Hugh and I came, because he showed us around the church.
Wasn't he curate or was he an intern?
He might have been a curate, I don't know, you know. We were walking in the neighborhood and we saw the church and he invited us in and told us about it, so on, and that's all I remember.
We went, it was a pretty smooth going from Father Scambler, who announced his retirement, to Father Dunkley taking over. The only problem we had was Father Dunkley and Bishop Burrow was there was a mess. He had to get permission, of course, of the Queen of England, because Father Dunkley was a member of the Church of England, and the Queen is the head of the Church of England. And she had to approve it's being transferred to the.
But do you remember who I'm saying?
But I just don't remember anybody kind of in the interim, although there was a period of, because Father Dunkley was here at the time because he had been, you know, he was getting a doctorate or something at Seabury and worked here on Sundays.
We ain't gonna stay from him.
Yeah,
Back then.
But, you know,
yeah, there might have been some other interim.
and I don't even remember when, because we were going between here and St. Martin's and Edison, so kind of remembered him, but I remember this man in a collar.
Maybe a curate, huh? Curate?
He might have been a curate.
He could have just been a stranger. Did he ask for money? Did he try to get you to go home with him?
Hey, I was younger then.
Well, so that's the end of and I did have a picture of Dr. Lee in here on the day that he became Rector Emeritus, and it's been deleted, so maybe he sneaked in there and did it because he didn't think it was flattering.
Oh, and I think we need one of these hippie pictures.
Oh, I love him looking like Father Dean.
So, that concludes our thing, but I've also got the reserve.